Welcome to Fluid Chords version 2, which is the one on the right, while the one on the left is still Fluid Chords 1. And basically what this is a cool chords bending plugin, and it allows you to select different chords and to place different chords on different keys on your keyboard. So whenever you press one of the keys, here I'm just using the mouse, or I can use my keyboard, it will play a different chord, and then you can bend between them by just moving to the different chord presets. And one of the main differences between Fluid Chords 1 and 2 is the addition of this cool Wavetable synth. In the previous version you can use an internal synth, which was somewhat limited, but you can also use VST3 plugins. So let's put Fluid Chords 1 aside for the moment, and let's concentrate on Fluid Chords 2. And of course, Fluid Chords 2 also has the external plugins, so you can use the internal synth, and they have quite a lot of interesting sounds. You can also have, of course, VST sounds. So let's have a listen to one of the presets that I found, which is really nice. It's called Electric Nights, and let's see how it sounds. I will play some drums using Logic Drummer and just improvising and playing around with the different chords in Fluid Chords. So as you can see, I'm simply pressing the different keys starting from C1 on my keyboard up to C2 on this preset, and the sound is quite convincing. We have a synth here, so you can also have a look at the synth here. Actually, we have a wavetable synth, which sounds like this, but you also have a sampler, and we have two sounds, and you can morph between them. So if I move to sampler here, I now have a sampler. And going back to the main interface, you can mix and layer the two sounds coming from the synth, which is very cool sounding, very basic plugin. And you can of course use your VST plugins as well. And to add a VST3 plugins, you simply click here, and you can have two, one for sound A and one for sound B. So for example, let's browse and let's use Arturia strings, for example. And then let's go to the init preset, and then let's see what happens. I can change, of course, my plugin setting, and I can mix and match the sound with the internal synth or sampler, or load another VST in slot 2. So basically, this is the sound coming from Arturia, augmented strings, and this is the sound coming from the internal synth in Fluid Chords, and you can mix the two together. Or you can change synth number 2 using again the internal synth or the internal sampler. There's a limited amount of waveforms that you can choose from, but it's nice sounding. And you can of course add another VST plugin. So let's try something more stringing or something like this velvet fiddle, and see what we get. So again, this is Arturia. Let's try another preset. Okay. Yeah, nice. Let's hear them again with the drums. yeah, so you can mix and match any kind of plugin, any kind of internal sound or synth or sampler. And then we have another cool, let's move to another preset. So let's go back to the cinematic for this example like this. So let's put aside again Arturia. So let's have a listen to this now. Yeah, very brassy, it's called Acid Brass. Yeah, and the nice thing is that you can generate chord progressions, so you can set the key here. So I want, for example, a D, and I want you to be a D minor, and you also have a genre specific generator, so you can generate chords for EDM, pop, hip-hop, rock, jazz, cinematic, and lo-fi, and something like that. So let's try to generate some EDM D minor chords. So just click on this chord generator, and you can see that a new chord is being generated here, and a new one is added. And so you get new preset each time you click. They are in D minor, so let's have a listen to this chord progression now, starting from C1 up to G1. And let's hear them in the context of a demo track. So let's again fire up the drummer in Logic and see what we can get. Yeah, again, really nice. We can also try to write a simple MIDI track here, so we can try to automate things and play along with them. So let's simply create a very simple MIDI track. So we'll start from C1 here. So let's create a chord here. So I want the first bar to be on the first chord. Let's move to D chord. So the second chord, and let's then use the E1. Let's go back here. Let's go back to the other. And let's move back to C. Okay, so let's have a listen to this very simple chord progression that I'm using by just inserting single notes in the Logic grid. So yeah, it's a very easy to use and inspirational kind of synth, kind of plugin, because it's making and generating chord progressions for us. So if you're not a great player like me, of course, you can simply press a button and have the chords change. So let's try again some more preset. For example, let's go to EDM again, and let's have this burning room here. And this has a more pulsating rhythm into it. Let's try a new one, and let's loop a few bars of this demo track that I'm building here. Yeah, of course, not all presets are created equal, so I was using G1 before in the previous example, but this chord progression doesn't incorporate G1, so this is not playing anything when you get to G1. And another very cool feature that they have added is this strum control. Whenever you play two notes with legato, you get the bending. So for example, let's have us listen to this. So you see that all the different notes that bend at the same time. But if you want to add some strumming, so for example, let's have it a very high position, you can strum up or down. And so the notes will bend in different times. So let's have a listen to this with strumming. As you can see, the notes are moving one after another. You can also specify the time of the bending here in milliseconds or in quarter notes, or depending on the different scale that you're using. And you can also use the flow in combination with the strumming, because the flow will allow the different notes to change position and to move and to bend in different positions. So let's have the strumming up to about 80% and the flow about 50%, and so let's see how this changes. So you can see the notes are moving in different directions. Let's have a little bit less flow and strumming at 100%. Very cool, because the notes are moving one by one. So let's go back to some of the original preset and have a listen to them.